Hey guys, Alex with Rapid Fire Rundown. Today, we're going to be discussing red dot size on handguns and rifles. More specifically, the lens size of the red dot. Now, pretty recently, or in the past couple years, I've noticed a lot of conversation around the size of your red dot not needing to be large, right? Gone are the days where we recommend MRO HDs. Um, and if you watch many popular YouTubers, they will say that with both eyes open shooting, realistically, you are just projecting the dots over your target, keeping both eyes open. Therefore, a extremely thick lens or a extremely thick bezel around your pistol sight or rifle sight, you're supposed to see through that. Um, and while I do agree that it is, for the most part, a training issue, I think that larger red dots on handguns specifically, but rifles to a certain extent, still have a place. And today, I just wanted to talk about my experiences or my experience with this, like RMRCC as an example, as well as that 508T, and then EOTech versus like aim point size. So, to get this all started, I don't think that what they're saying is completely wrong. There's a lot of merit to it with both eyes open shooting. Like I said, you are supposed to be looking through that bezel, right? So while this bezel is clearly in my vision, I'm projecting that red dot onto said target. I'm not focusing on the dot. I'm not focusing on that bezel, and because of that, um, it's kind of just like a red dot floating in space. Now, that's what I agree with. What I disagree with is I'm saying it doesn't really matter whatsoever. That's where I beg to differ. The first point I really want to bring up is first of all, target acquisition, or rather, finding the dot from the draw on a concealed carry firearm specifically. And this is probably the biggest point. In fact, this is what started this whole conversation. This was just a topic I was discussing with a friend, and I said, hey, I may as well turn it into a video, and this was my largest point. This RMRCC right here. This is a little bit smaller than a RMR Type 2 that we all know and love. And let's see if I can get you a dot picture. Notice how small the lens is on that optic, right? Because of that, when I am bringing it from concealment and up to my eye, I'm a pretty proficient shooter. But with all that, I still don't struggle with finding the dot. But if my presentation isn't absolutely perfect, that dot is not going to be within my window. That's the first hurdle. For beginner shooters or shooters that are just getting into the red dot game, smaller dots are infinitely more difficult to use. And like I said, that really is the most important part of this conversation, is the ease of use that a larger dot or a EOTech, as an example, provides. When I take this 508T here, as an example, and bring it up to my eye, I have that dot in my vision over here, over here, over here. If I cant the gun up, down, everywhere. This entire circle, I'm able to see this dot. With this RMRCC, sorry about that gun. With this RMRCC, I can do this. That's not a lot of room for error. And it makes moving while shooting very difficult, right? When I am just taking like paces at the range, walking at my target as an example, it's possible to lose the dot. It's possible for this dot to leave the top of the window because I'm taking a step and the recoil of my body is moving the dot, moving my hands. Once again, that is a training issue, but it's something to take note of. You really do need to be a proficient shooter to be able to shoot smaller dots more efficiently, or efficiently in general. A Trijicon SRO, as an example, or the new Holosun competition series. I don't know if you've ever looked behind an SRO, but during recoil, your dot will not leave the window whatsoever on an SRO, as long as you're putting in the work, right? That is also a absolutely massive benefit. The shooting experience behind larger dots is significantly better. And now, once again, I'm going to remind you all that this, through training, you can be as fast or probably close to as fast with a Type 2 RMR. But that doesn't mean that there isn't a better shooting or recoil experience on a larger dot. Okay, so my first point, like I said, they're just difficult to use. This requires significantly more mastery to be proficient at. Now, recoil was another thing I touched upon. The SRO, you're able to track that dot just 100% through your recoil,
Yep.
as well as this 508T with this comped Roland build. I'm able to track this 100%. That RMRCC pre-comp on the 43X, I wasn't able to track it too well. Post-comp, I think I am able to keep the dot within the window for the most part, but it's a lot more difficult than a much larger dot. The second topic I wanted to talk about is going to be NV use on pistols. Now, are you going to be shooting pistols under night vision very frequently? No. If you have night vision, I feel like you're very likely going to have a rifle and a rifle dedicated to night vision, like so, right? Very rarely are you going to be shooting your Glock with, God help you if you try to use iron sights, but very rarely you're going to be shooting your RMR Glock under night vision. That being said, there are significant benefits towards using a larger optic with night vision. So everything that I said before stands true with night vision, but it's amplified. Shooting at night is, I mean, realistically, it's just like shooting during the day, but it's about 3 times harder. Tracking recoil under night vision is significantly harder. Getting proper sight target acquisition is significantly harder. Performing reloads, right? Reloads are super easy, but under night vision, I promise you, they suck. Um, Getting your tube, and I don't have my helmet on to show you guys, it's back there, but getting your tube perfectly positioned behind your pistol is something that takes just so much time, so many reps to do. And then if you're running something like a PVS-7, remember, the ocular is in the middle of your face. So trust me, a larger window, being able to course correct you from bringing it to your natural point of aim to that center line, that's going to be infinitely beneficial. Same with using like binos. Um, Night vision, like I said, it's not the largest deal for many of you, but a larger window is significantly better under night vision, as well as the light that is able to come through the optic with much smaller optics. You will notice like the RMRCC is very clear, but a much larger optic like a EXPS3 or even this 508T, I would say the glass quality isn't as good, but for whatever reason, looking through said optic at night is just significantly easier. Okay. The last topic of conversation for red dots is going to be rifle use. Now, with rifle use, I don't consider this to be nearly as important. With pistols, having that larger window is going to significantly benefit your draw and then shot on target speed, assuming you're not extremely proficient with red dots. On rifles, it's really not the same thing, is it? Because when we mount our rifle, it comes up from our shoulder, or it comes up from our armpit, as an example, goes to our shoulder, head goes down, and our eye is just always going to be exactly where it needs to be. But where this gets a little bit more complex is with complex shooting positions. Many of you guys know what a VTAC barricade is, right? How many of you train with a VTAC barricade? I don't. I should probably make one, but I still shoot in those really awkward positions. And trust me, a T2, or actually a better example, an ACOG, right? A ACOG, when you are trying to do this under a VTAG barricade, is extremely hard to get a proper sight picture with. Because if your eye is not perfectly center, you're going to completely lose that reticle. You're going to completely lose your sight picture. That is where the EOTech actually comes into play. And that's actually why I prefer the EOTech over something like a Aimpoint T2. And I'll show you guys this build in a minute. It's really weird. Don't judge it. Um, the EOTech is king, or EOTech style optics are king when it comes to shooting in really awkward positions. Okay. And that really is probably the last benefit about having these larger windows is like I said, when we are off axis shooting, or God forbid, doing these like 90-degree shots, a larger window so your head doesn't need to be exactly here. It can be here instead or here instead. Makes for a significantly better shooting experience, as well as the parallax on the EOTechs are absolutely phenomenal, so it allows that type of shooting. Now, moving on to our Aimpoint T2 equivalent, This obviously isn't a T2. Don't judge this build. It's going to be like an LMG at one point. I'll make a video when I do get it. It's mostly for memes, but this is our T2 adjacent, right? This is a SIG MSR, I think. Um, SIG MSR. It's extremely similar to an Aimpoint T2, but you'll notice when I'm looking down that tube, my course correction that I'm allowed to make, or the amount of space where my dot is able to move around the window before it completely leaving that window, and of course myself losing that sighting system at that time, is significantly smaller than an EOTech, right? I'm able to do about this, which means in uncomfortable or uncommon shooting positions like so, right now I have a good, my dot is in the center of my optic, but if I do this, I just lost my dot, right? If I do this, I just lost my dot. Whereas my EOTech is going to still be within that parallax free zone. So, lastly, NV use. This directly translates over to NV use from pistols. NV use with an EOTech is so good. As many of us know, it's considered one of the kings of night vision use, and I think a large part of that is because of the absolutely massive window. It's extremely forgiving, as well as being able to shoot in those uncomfortable shooting positions is something that most other optics aren't going to allow you to do, especially something like an LPVO or an ACOG. That's another reason why I still think red dots and EOTechs are still king so many years later in so many different types of shooting. That's why the EOTech or the Aimpoint T2 and like a magnifier I still think is far superior to most LPVO setups, but that's a video at a different time. All right, so those are my views on red dot and holographic sight reticle sizes, or rather window sizes. Like I said, this video was just made, so I didn't need to explain it to my friends for the 50th time. If you disagree, please feel free to comment down below. I'm sure some people will. There's a lot of people that really love the T2 out there. This video was also to test out my new camera. Hope you guys are liking the image quality. Today was supposed to be a green screen video, but green screens fucking suck to set up, so if anyone has any tips on how to overlay a green screen, please tell me so you no longer need to look at my room. All right, Alex with Rapid Fire Rundown. I'll see you guys in the next one.